I never thought my poetry would have that much of an impact. Hey guys, happy Friday. For those of you who had watched my podcast when I had posted episodes on here, you know that I love poetry and that I grew up writing poetry, and it was a way for me to cope with the obstacles of life. And it was a way for me to get things out, put them on paper, but also understand and accept whatever it is that I'm feeling or whatever thoughts are going through my head. This year, I published, my first book, but specifically a poetry book, a memoir written in the form of poetry. It's called Eyes That Told a Story. It's still a little unreal. I had released this on my birthday, so September 16th. It was one of my best birthday presents to myself. I couldn't ask for a better way to celebrate me than to own my story, express it in the way that I know how, and inspire others to own theirs. Interesting enough, I was actually going to write a regular novel, a regular memoir about my life story, because friends that know quite a bit about me have told me time and time again I would inspire people with my story if I just, talked about how I've overcome these things and what has kept me going. I started writing this book in like 2018, 2019. The process was very difficult. I struggled having to relive some really traumatic events. I was struggling to get past, I think, maybe the second or third chapter that I was writing. And it's just because I had some really traumatic things happen when I was younger and I was doing it in chronological order. So having to relive that and having to tap in, something about it just didn't feel right. I would take 6-month breaks and then try to write like a paragraph, and then I would not be able to keep going, and it was an awful mess. But, I kept trying and I kept trying. I didn't necessarily give up until I kind of did. I had a conversation with one of my friends who knew about the book. I think we were probably talking about things that are like impactful or how we can impact people or something. And so she had mentioned like the book that you're writing, and I was like, I'm not really writing that anymore. She said, "Oh no, like you have to figure out a way to get through it, a way to write it. There are so many people that are going to be able to relate to this, and it's going to help them feel not alone, and it's going to help them see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel." So, over time I started realizing that the answer to that problem was do it in poetry. Mind you, I've had poetry written throughout the years during some of these traumatic moments or the aftermath of. So I already had a good amount of poems that I could just put in this book. I picked kind of a number of pages that I would like, a number of poems that I would like. I started separating it into sections, chronological order. So I kept that kind of theme, like we're gonna write things and put things in order from, childhood to now. Over, I think, a period of maybe like 6 or 7 months, I was able to write a bunch of poems. And those last like couple of months, I was on it because I set the deadline for my birthday. I needed to be able to have it published by my birthday. Writing this book was hard. It was emotional. It was intense. I had to still relive a lot of memories. But what's amazing is that I was healed enough to do it and not lose myself inside of the reliving. I think that's part of the reason why it was so hard with the previous book, other than it not being the format that I needed to express all of this, I needed to release this with. I was not ready. There were things that had not been released yet. There were beliefs that I still had, attachments that I still had. And I also think there were things I had to go through, that I had gone through in that time period of me struggling, that were supposed to be in this book. Everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that. I think this book came out just in time. I haven't necessarily figured out how I want to do my next poetry book, but I do have some ideas. I have been writing some poetry. I'm just not sure how I want to format it, but I'm really excited to have a second poetry book. Surprise, surprise! I'm actually writing a self-help book right now that has to do with people pleasing and how to get out of that. I am going through and have been going through a process of no longer people pleasing and choosing myself and being okay with that. It has been a rough time. I will be writing this book as I am working through that journey myself. I think to be open, vulnerable, and authentic about the process and how ugly it is and how hard it is, it's probably comforting a little bit to have an inkling on how crappy the process can be and know that you're not going to be the only one going through this. If you choose to let go of people pleasing, because some people are okay with it, they're not hurting like I am when it comes to people pleasing. It's gotten to the point where I am physically in pain and it makes me nauseous. Your girl's a little author now. She's out here trying to help people. If you haven't already, grab a copy of my book. You'll find it on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble's website. Hopefully, very soon, we'll get it in stores. I'm in the process of doing that. And thank you so much to everybody who has already gotten a copy of my book. I am so incredibly grateful. I expected maybe like 2 people, and that's only because they told me. That's the only reason why I expected it. Otherwise, I just thought it was just gonna be out there to just be out there. But there's been quite a bit of people that bought a book. I can't thank you enough. To those of you who are planning on buying a book, thank you in advance. I hope you have an amazing weekend, an amazing week ahead. Love you guys so much, and until next time, stay beautiful, stay kind.